Welcome. How are you feeling?
Very good.
Very good. Good.
Right now I'm feeling cold because I walked today.
Oh, good. Get your exercise. Okay.
No, somebody's car parked behind my car.
So you can't get out?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Howie.
Howie.
I'm this guy, the tree removal guy.
Okay.
Just want to let you know
I
I'm
spoke
here.
with your mom.
That's you
or is
spoke
it
with
your
my
wife's
mother-in-law.
mom?
Yeah.
Your mother-in-law?
Yeah.
And your wife yesterday?
Okay,
And
cool.
your little daughter. Cute, cute, cute.
Very cute. Yeah, just want to let you know I'm
So
here.
John isn't here yet, but
That's
when
fine.
John comes, he is your guy, and
Oh, okay.
he will help you. He is very experienced in land use issues,
Oh, wow.
and
That's
he
awesome
will
because
help
the
you.
appeal is tomorrow. The hearing is tomorrow.
So you can ask him questions,
That would be fantastic.
yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
sometimes he comes a little bit late because he has to make the rounds sometimes because he's president of all 17, the coalition for all 17 neighborhoods.
Oh, wow.
And so sometimes he has to make, there's 3 meetings tonight, Multnomah, Markham, and Arnold Creek. And so sometimes if there's something he needs to talk about, he has to hit all of us. But we own him because he lives here in our neighborhood. So we get him when his term is up. And he was past president as well. So. And it's Michael and Sarah. Did you bring Ro? No? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
prescription thing.
You're just slightly out of my range, but you look so much like him. Yeah, we're gonna put you on the spot. Start telling us how to get nuts. You're the nuts guy?
I'm down.
So, Robert, are you okay with the timeline, or do you want?
I'm fine. Whenever. I'm fine.
You just enjoy our company and, you know.
Well, you know.
Okay, so, Howie, I know you have children at home. Do you have to sit her and?
My wife.
So we get you, huh? You know, you can move the table forward if you want.
Okay.
Kathleen will help you. If it's hard to see. So, welcome everyone. I'll go ahead and start the meeting. We're just a couple minutes past 7 o'clock. We are not recording live online because I can't get a good enough signal. I'll tinker with it when I can, but so far having a bad signal day. And but it is recording, so I will be able to post it online after our meeting. So my name is Donna Herron. Welcome everyone. I'm president of Markham Neighborhood for probably about 5 more months. Then I term out and someone else gets to be it for a while. First up on the agenda, after I introduce myself to you, is you get to introduce yourself to everybody else. So Dr. Leckman, will start with you and make the rounds.
I'm Mirza Lukman, live at 35th and Ridge, corner of 35th and Ridge.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Kim Heron, Southwest 30th. Eric LeBake, Southwest Stanley Court.
John Gibbon, 9822 Southwest Quail Post.
Robert Lennox, president of Markham Neighborhood Association.
Sure.
Just you can say street. You just say your name if you want.
Yeah, I'm Susan State and first time neighborhood association.
You sent me an email a couple of months ago, didn't you? Yeah, somebody did. Okay, welcome. But you are very welcome.
Howie, Southwest Primrose.
Kathleen, Southwest 26. I'm Jody Langio, Southwest Dalt Street. Beth, the same street, Dalt Street.
Johnny and Meg were on Southwest Marigold.
Okay, near Zahara.
Hmm?
Near Zahara, Marigold and 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put this towards the front for any speakers, and if you can, Kim does the minutes from the video, and he needs to hear what you're saying. So if you can speak up if you speak, that'll help him do better minutes. So next on the agenda is John. Did you introduce yourself? Did we pass you? Okay. Okay. agenda approval.
And
Now, I do have a request. We have a speaker here tonight in the new business section that has babysitters that would like to go early. That is the application for 900 square feet added at 1318 Southwest Golf. First name is
Jody.
Jody, okay. So she's requested that we move her up, so if we can, if everybody's in agreement to that, that is one change, to move her before the minute so that she can get going home to the children for the
So
bedtime
moved.
stories.
so moved.
Okay. So John motioned to approve the agenda as written. Anybody second it
As amended.
as amended? Thank you.
I'll second.
Eric Levick seconds. Got that, Kim? Any more discussion on it? Any more changes to the agenda? Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. And any abstentions? Kathleen Elliott abstains.
Got it?
And do we have a quorum?
No.
We do not. Okay, so we'll move forward. And next up is meeting minutes approval. So if you take a look at the back side of your agenda, there are minutes from our last meeting. You could, those of you who were here, you can review it and make any corrections. They're also online for those of you who go to our website. Which are, come on, click. I'm probably going to open multiple copies of it now.
It's on,
There you go.
benefit from the agenda in the country. Is that right?
There's no meeting. There's no official business.
There's no official
So it's those
business.
in attendance.
Yeah, it's those, I assume that we're at, we need enough people who are qualified voters to become an agent.
Those are the ones that are on your printed sheet, the ones
This is
that
a
are,
gathering.
the ones that are,
Gathering, not a meeting.
yeah. So we get to just visit. So any additions, changes, corrections to the minutes from last month?
I thought we were going to move this right after the minutes, is that?
I'm sorry. Yes, you are correct.
Oh,
Jody?
yes.
So Jody is going to talk to us about an application that she has with the City of Portland on a 900 square foot addition. It's in your new business section on the agenda down at the bottom before the bold line. And her address is 1318 Southwest Dahl. She's asking the city to grant her a permit for a 900 square foot addition. So you can just speak from your chair if you'd like, or you can come up here, but you need to speak loud.
Okay, I'm Jody. And we live on Dolph Street, right between 14th and Taylor's Ferry, my husband, myself, and then our two kids. And our daughter Lucy goes to Capitol Hill Elementary School, just a few blocks away. And our son comes here in 6th grade, and he went to Capitol Hill also. And so we bought our house in 2004, right when I finished school. And before we had kids, and it's a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And we love our neighbors. In fact, I brought one tonight. And we love the neighborhood. So instead of moving, we have a pretty deep lot. So instead of moving, we want to add another bedroom and a bigger kitchen onto the back of our house. So we hired some engineers and a design build firm who put together some plans, and we submitted to the city for approval of those plans. And part of that is they said to email the neighborhood association and let them know of our plans. So that brought me here tonight. The idea behind the build is to maintain the integrity of the house from the street level so that when you look at it, it doesn't look like we put a giant thing on the back of the house. Our lot kind of dips down a little bit in back, so it's not going up, it's just going back, and then we're going to maintain the same roof line. From the back property, the property backs up to an easement behind it, so there's not really neighbors directly behind us that it would impact. And luckily, we have really good relationships with our neighbors on either side and in front of us. But yeah, what questions are there? We can bring it up. So like, okay, so this is our tiny little house. You see here. So that's house. It's sitting over there. So that's our house right there. So basically in the front, it's not going to look any different. So this roof line, there'll be a tiny.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Now where'd it go?
A tiny bump right above it that'll have some windows. Originally we were going to walk the opposite direction, but I guess the south side would cause heat, like lots of heat in the house and issues there to have like the tall windows. So the engineer suggested coming up like this instead and moving right here. And it won't go any, it wouldn't go any wider either. It will just stay the same footprint of the house, but it is pushing back quite a bit. Our main floor is only about 900 square feet. So.
I was trying to get them to dim the
Your
lights.
current square footage is what?
So our main floor right there is about 900 square feet, and then you can't see it too well in this picture, but this is a driveway that dips down. It used to be a little garage. And when we bought it, they had flipped it and finished the basement off. Not quite finished it because they made it look like it was finished, and then the first time it rained, we had a waterfall in the basement, which led to a lot of issues.
Yes.
Which I'm sure people are here. And then this, the wall that's kind of right to the left, like to the right of that was engineered.
What a view you have.
Where'd it go?
There you go.
Just stop touching.
So this wall right here, we had put in by like several different engineers because what happened was when we were trying to fix what happened from the people who sold us the house, who flipped it, we had to put in a new French drain, and then they didn't compact the soil, and then the soil, we had like a huge snow one year, and then the soil
Welcome to Southwest
settled, and then the wall was just the stacked concrete wall that somebody built like 50 years ago, and then it landslided on January 1st into the side of the house, and so now this is all basically concrete that goes down to the foundation. So
You
after
don't
all
feel
of
this property's cursed. You just.
so, well, see, our take on it is that we know everything wrong with the property, so we don't want to move into a new property that we don't know what's wrong with it. We'd rather deal with what we know is wrong.
And you love your neighbors.
And we love our neighbors, and we can't replicate that. So, and then when we look in the neighborhood for other houses to buy. A lot of them are just like to get big enough, but they're just a brand new construction that takes up the entire lot, and there's no yard, and we've got young kids and we need a yard. So, and even with the addition, we'll still have a big yard. So,
Just one thing, you said that you've got an easement behind you. It's actually, as this group has learned, it's actually the right of way. So just know that there's a difference between that and an easement.
Oh, okay.
John's your guy if you
but
have questions.
Perfect.
Not anything that affects this project. So.
I was going to pull up Portland maps. Do I need to do that? No.
I mean, we can't vote on it anyway, Bonnie, so she's given us the report.
Okay.
And if we don't have a quorum, and I'm not sure we need to vote because this is a building permit kind of a situation. Because of the way that they changed the law to protect, or changed the ordinance to protect against demolitions, they added in, you have to give, the neighborhood association has to be given notice of additions. It's just part of the whole same process. So, I mean, that's why you used to be you could just go get that and not have to worry about talking with your neighbors. But now, because they wanted to deal with the thing you noted, that the big houses are being built on, the tear downs in big houses being built, they changed the ordinance, and when they changed the ordinance, they made it so that anybody that adds to the size of their house has to go through this process. So, but it's a building permit, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's not gonna be any approval other than the city's approval, but
But if there were concerns, we'd want to address them, because we love our neighbors, like we mentioned.
you
We
know,
want to be respectful of them, and we've had lots of construction around us too. And
I don't know about Markham, but it's South London, you have big brownies.
Well, at John's Market, there's
Yeah,
now
see,
going to
I
be a
know.
pot shop. They'll probably have brownies.
Special brownies.
Yeah,
People can walk on by. They'll probably make it a little more level.
that would really, raise.
There, do we have a
Raise the
quorum? Is that it?
discussion
Is that our
level.
quorum? We need 2 more?
Yeah, if you vote.
I can't vote,
Okay.
not unless there's a tie. So is that it? No, any other questions, sir? Jody? No?
And Jonna has my email, so if anybody does have any questions or concerns, feel
You
free
did
to
an awesome
email.
job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you did, and good luck on that.
Thank
You
you.
can invite us all over for a
Fingers
kitchen
crossed.
warming
Right.
when you're all done.
We were hoping to do it last year, but we
Wondering
couldn't
when we
get
need
anybody
to.
in to do the foundation because of all the new construction, so it got pushed back. Fingers crossed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and since you have a child, we have an offer again for a movie in the park, so stay tuned on our website for that. We may have another movie this summer,
Sounds good.
right here.
Till we get 7.
Okay, so up next is, are we going back to, we don't have a quorum yet? All right, so if you took a look at the minutes and you have any corrections or suggestions on it, we can at least have Kim do that, make those corrections. What are you looking for? And we'll have to vote on that at our next meeting, or if someone else walks in. I am counted towards the quorum, but I can't vote, so unless there's a tie. So does anybody have any corrections to the minutes? Jeff, they're on the back side of the agenda. There you go. So you were here last month, so you would recognize what he wrote. So hearing no corrections to the minutes, that means Kim did a good job.
Yeah, that's good.
John, you're going with it?
Yeah, if I'm not audible, that's my problem, not Kim's.
Okay.
But you got the big notice in. So. Okay.
Okay. So then up next is, I'll change the screen in a minute, is a report from me. And I see Zahara isn't here tonight either. She talked about the Cannabis Shop. I talked to them yesterday, and they are going to be opening in about 1 to 2 months, they said. They're in the process now of redoing the building.
Is this the John's Market?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's bars on the windows now, and they're getting ready. There is one change to the permit application they put through, and that is that they are going to grow in the store as well, in the back of the store. So that she said 3 rows. I don't know what 3 rows means, but they're going to have a grow operation in there as well as sales. So, and I don't know what they're growing, but and I'm sure that she's putting that through to the cannabis people downtown to make sure our cannabis people are up to speed on that. So they would like to come back to our meeting in a couple of months when it's done and have a little visit with us, and they are interested in participating in our neighborhood and supporting us as we need them. So that's all I have on them. And I think the rest of it is down below. We have the movie in the park. So the rest of it can just be worked in. Are there any questions of me for last month's activities? Off meeting? No? Okay. So up next on the agenda is the Treasury report. And the Treasury report is on our website. Let me pull that back up. And there's no change in it whatsoever. However, we have accumulated $300 in our bottle drop. You go down here to Treasury report. No glasses. We currently have $1,147.38 in our treasury. Plus we have $300 in our bottle drop account that we can transfer over. And Fred Meyer Rewards is way down. We got like $30 or $33 in January for the last quarter of last month. Which is not showing on
Last
here.
quarter of the year.
I'm sorry, last quarter of the year. And I think it was because they didn't have the input yet, but the reason that our Fred Meyer is so low is because when Fred Meyer's started their new fiscal year in the summer, we had 15 people that were subscribed to that, so their rewards were matched to us. And like 12 people didn't resubscribe. They didn't go back in and re-opt for our neighborhood. And so if you're one of those people that has a Fred Meyer card and you're interested in matching your rewards to our charitable account, just go online and use your rewards number and select Markham Neighborhood. You just have to search for our name and it will come up. And if you have questions, just contact me. So that's the Treasury report. Are there any questions on that? No? Okay, so next is our guest speaker. Unfinished business. Bylaws. We have a bylaws update. Rob, since I didn't have you listed down here for the last month's presentation that you made, do you want to give us that information now?
Sure.
I'll just pull it up because I had it on the website from last month. I can just pull it right up. It is Louisville, Portland, right here. And I'll let you tell the news.
So last Wednesday, we had an appeal to City Council on a decision that was made about 3 weeks prior. We came here asking for your support for what you graciously wrote a letter to, and I'm happy to report that we are successful in our appeal. So that means that there's a tentative vote. I'm learning a lot as this goes on, but basically that means that the applicant will either have to go to the State Land Use Board of Appeals to fight it, or they start over. So that means they put together an application fee and start with a new application. This last week, basically between the decision, the tentative vote, and which tomorrow they'll have the real vote, the city council sits down, or the city attorney sits down with the staff, and they actually write the findings of the hearing. So they write about what it is the city council approved. And that will be the basis for not only the hearing, but also or for the Land Use Board of Appeals that they may decide to go after. But it also is the decision of the city. So on future cases, it means that you can use that as a precedent argument. Some of the good news that was argued, basically the property was almost entirely in a conservation zone. And it also had a protection zone, which the protection zone, it's pretty hard to do much in. It's the immediate 15 or 25 feet next to a creek. Outside of that, they have protection or conservation zones. And the city was pretty much agreed with us that they failed to acknowledge the resources that were in the uplands area. So there was the creek and then a slope and then an uplands area that had trees over a known landslide. They had some big grove of trees that were including a 54-inch fir, which was probably one of the big decisions that came up, or one of the big discussions. It's like, how did you not identify these trees as being important? 54-inch fir, if you look up fir and growth of fir without tapping it, it's anywhere from 250 to 300 years old. So that fir was here before Lewis and Clark came to Oregon. Fir was here before we were statehood. And it was this ceremony dismissed as something that they could just cut down without really designing their subdivision around it. So that's good news. Is if this goes, the findings are written such that if it gets approved tomorrow, which we have no doubt that it will be, that it will be precedent for all our neighborhood associations to be able to, if you're in a conservation zone, a developer won't be able to just say, well, we're not going to touch the creek, so we're going to haircut the rest of the property.
So a question for you, so the folks that actually own the Abbey Crematorium, obviously they're still interested in closing their business. Has there been any further news as far as potentially what may happen, if maybe if the building, pre-existing building might be used for another business of sorts, or? I mean,
I don't know anything about the business being closed.
Okay.
So that had nothing to do with the application, it was the property above it. I know they're supposedly financially hurting, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how you do that. Because basically you've sold people space forever.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if that means the city takes it over or, anyway, I don't know anything about that. Wasn't involved in the application, thank God. But anyway, if anybody has any heart left in them to support us some more, we are incurring fees right now from our attorney at a tune of about $330 an hour I gave her permission to move forward on writing the findings. And the main reason is if the findings weren't written in a way that supported the decisions that were made, we would have to fight the same fight again. Any developer could come in and just say, well, we're protecting the stream, we're going to cut down the rest of the trees. So this basically makes some clarification on what's intended in the code by City Council. So I'm not expecting anybody to put a lot of money in, but if everybody was doing $30, we had 200 people putting in $30, we'd be done. You know, so South Burlingame Land Use Fund on Sweeney is one of the locations you can donate. On that page, there should be also a link for the GoFundMe site that we have going.
Could you say that one more time before people could go?
South Burlingame, well, under the Sweeney donation page, there's a South Burlingame Land Use page. And it's out kind of general, so we're going to use it to fight this fight, but if there's any left over, it goes in the other land use. We're about $6,000 short right now. It doesn't concern us too much. We got some benefactors that will help, but I really don't want to saddle my neighbors with a $3,000 or $4,000 bill. But they pretty much, we had some really bold people. We had one gentleman that when we were trying to figure out if we were going to hire a lawyer or not, and this was within the first week, we had 3 weeks to mount this. He basically said, I'll guarantee that we have $10,000 in the fund to hire a lawyer. Which if he hadn't done that, and he knew we were going to get money, we were going to get contributions, but if he hadn't done that, we probably would have waited a week to hire a lawyer, which would have been probably detrimental to our cause to actually get someone. Because this is a 4-year-long application, so if you were to print out everything, the stack of pages is about a foot tall. So that's a lot for someone to absorb.
So you have a GoFundMe on your, this is Sweeney's,
So if you go to donate on the main page, so if you go to Sweeney's main page.
Sweeney's, okay, so not your page on.
Yeah, if you go back all the way back.
All the way back to the home page. There you go. No? Yeah.
There should be a donate page and that we can
Go to home. Up on the top.
Yeah, I am home. See, it says up there.
Look on the left, scroll down a little bit, below news.
There you go.
Donate.
So donate right there,
Yep.
Yeah. We could get your money.
and then
Maybe
donate
go down,
again.
So that's Southwest,
No.
that's Southwest Neighborhood, so if you go down a little bit,
Yeah, you gotta go down.
there's multiple ones, so there's South Burlingame.
There you go.
We want a button there.
So it's not a bad, and this is something, a little PDX or GoFundMe is actually, whatever money we made in excess is gonna go towards anybody, and that's, we really, as Southwest neighborhoods, we really should consider I mean, it's hard to get people to contribute, but when you're involved in these, you have such a short time to generate funds to hire lawyers, to hire experts. I'm planning on doing a little bit of debriefing on the land use fund, but we learned a little bit about this. If you're ever involved in this, especially if they decide that the application's on the record, we are instructed by a lawyer to trespass and take pictures of whatever we think may be pertinent. Nobody felt like doing that, but if we would have had a picture of that 54-inch street, it would have been helpful.
Use a drone.
Well, you can use a drone. We have a drone website. We have a drone of the site, but all you see is the top of the trees.
Oh, I see.
But if you could actually see someone standing next to it, I mean, 54 inches it's a big tree, right? But there's stuff like that. So anything that has to be in the record needs to be submitted. So that means, like Forest Edge Apartments was the same type of land use slide, or same type of slide that we're on. And 2 years ago, they started failing. And so if we would have had those articles and those pictures and those videos on the page, we could refer to them. So it's very difficult as a layman to understand what that means, on the record means. But when you start trying to formulate arguments, you get boxed in because it's not in the record, it's not on the record. So, but there's stuff like that we learned that's invaluable. Hopefully you guys will never have to go through this, but it's a lot of energy, a lot of time. We do have the links to the decision. I'm very proud of our neighborhood. We mounted 22 people. You have 3 minutes to speak. So we put together a series of speeches over the 22 people that covered 4 topics, or 4 areas. Each had topics, which again, you're talking normal neighborhood citizens that are talking. So some of it's not the most eloquent, but they got the message across. So anyway, mainly I just want to come here and say thank you to everybody for allowing that letter to be submitted. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We are all part of the same coalition of neighborhoods, and helping another neighborhood is what it should be all about. So you're very welcome. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, so their website, this livable PDX is on our website. So if you go to the agenda page, last month's links, it points to this website here. Okay, thank you, Robert, very much. Appreciate it. Up next is Eric. Are you ready?
I believe so.
Is everybody?
What you want me to reference?
The bylaws from last month.
We can also approve the minutes.
Okay, let's back up for a minute then. John says that we can approve the minutes because, Michael, you are our hero tonight. You made our quorum. So we can vote to approve the minutes. So if you take a look at the minutes real quick, we can vote to approve it and have that done. Here's the leftover copies from last month. Do you have your copy where you flagged the pages? You can find it, okay. So, all right, so there. You ready, Jeff?
I hate to be picky, but I need to change what that graph for.
That's okay. That's what yours. Kim will.
So this way you'll know I really did follow up. Anyway, the graph that the school committee was looking at is for teaching kids coding at the libraries.
So noted.
Okay.
Coding.
Coding.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other corrections? Nobody? Okay, so then we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes with corrections noted, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. And are there any abstentions? Kathleen Elliott. So the motion carries. Minutes are approved. All right, up next is Eric, and he will go over our bylaw changes for to bring us more in line with our coalition, Sweeney.
So the bylaws were updated in October of 2016. And if you will take a look, those of you, I've distributed the handful of these I had. On pages 4 and 5 at the bottom, it references a committee that no longer is a part of Sweeney, which is the Communications Committee. And so what we're proposing to do is just eliminate the verbiage related to that. And so we wanted just to point that out to everybody, that that would be the only adjustments to the bylaws. So we wanted to have a vote tonight, just making sure that everybody was in agreement with that.
What page?
Bottom of pages 3 and 4 is where it references the Communications Committee.
4 and 5.
Oh, excuse me, 4 and 5. Yeah.
Okay, so 4 is communication. Right here?
Yes, there, and then,
Oh, it won't let me highlight, so
and then towards the bottom of page 5.
bottom of page 5, right there,
Yeah.
right there. Okay. Any, and this is the second reading, or is this the first reading?
This would technically be the first reading. We just kind of addressed this peripherally on the last meeting, so this was the first official reading.
Okay.
So we'll vote on it next month. Is that the way I?
That's how I understand it.
So are we good with that, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. Any questions of Eric about this?
The one question that was brought up last month that I could not hear the discussion on was, does it change the number of even to odd on the total number of positions in the neighborhood?
Yeah, it
Or
will
something
change the
along-
total because we're subtracting one.
Yep. So we go from 8 to 7.
Or from eights?
Well, we got,
6 and 7.
we've got,
Well, if you look
14.
at starting on
At the bottom of page 5, it talks about the communications, equity and inclusion, land use. Going over to the top of page 6, parks, public safety, transportation, schools, and watershed. So that's
those
at
are the
number 8.
chairs, but then our board member, our
Neighborhood board
president.
members.
Yeah, we have president, secretary, past president, parks on down.
Yeah, we'll leave us with.
Thir-
Well, no, we
13.
had 14 before, and now we'll
Have
have
an odd,
You'll have 13.
13, which is probably better.
Which is
Yeah.
okay. I
Because
just
you have the
wanted
odd.
to address that real quick. So we have 13 complete board positions.
Unless you're
12 voters.
superstitious. Unless you're superstitious.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
okay. So any questions other than that? All right, Eric, you got one more time. You got to bring this up next month. Up next is bylaws. Safe route to school, Jackson Middle School. John has been assisting with that. And we did get a letter back from Alexis Gabriel, who attended our meeting on that a few months ago, for those of you who were here. And she was asking some questions and clarification. I answered those, and we're still waiting back. Now, John, you were going to talk a little bit more about that.
I looked over the stuff that came back, and my recommendation is, and we've got him in the room, so, we probably are gonna have to have a survey to locate the distance from the culvert to the property line, so that we know where we end up on that. And that's, I don't think the city's gonna do it without us getting a survey. I don't think it's a complicated survey because all the pins are in on the Quail Park property to make it relatively easy to figure out what distances are there. But that is probably what we're gonna need to satisfy the city's biggest concern about distances, and then we'll figure out where we are from
Okay.
there. And Rob, just by chance, is a professional surveyor, so.
And on camera right now, we're going to have Rob's commitment.
No, but he could give you I mean,
I could give you a fair estimate, or we could barter with some trading for my attorney fees. I think I'm kidding.
no, I'm not, no.
The good part is you can, if you do it through the screening webpage, you get nonprofit status information. So
Yeah.
no, I'll be happy to help you guys. I'll give you a real fair price.
Do we have an idea how much that costs?
Not without saying it.
Not without seeing it, but.
Could you maybe get back
There's-
to us next
Yeah.
month with
Yeah, we can,
an idea?
I'll meet with John, we'll look at it.
Yeah, good.
So there's that one survey stick that's in Doc Stater's backyard.
Right, that's a corner, and it's within 15 feet of the corner, so within 15 feet of the pole. I mean, it's in clear view of it, and it's just getting in there and getting it surveyed, so. We'll get that arranged.
Okay. So,
I'll be going to the Quail Park meeting this month, and we'll see. I don't think there'll be a problem, but I don't want to say that for sure. I'm not on the board. But.
So my question for note taking is, a survey is, the need for a survey is anticipated?
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys, as I understood what you sent, what I saw Donna and Cindy, is you guys took pictures of the color and everything and sent it to the city, and they basically came back and said we still need more information. And the more information, you know, they can't tell from a survey the exact distance to the property.
Okay. All right.
So that's what we have to get done.
Out of curiosity, how many students would be using?
well, it varies from year to year because, you know, kids keep getting born. So,
How many kids are walking into school?
well, it's not just for kids, but the kids were the reason that the parents asked to have that put through to get them off that intersection at 35th and Huber and off 35th. I know of about a half dozen and that have to cross from our Indian Hills area or Taylor's Ferry area. If you get further than Taylor's Ferry, I don't know where the exact line is, they get to ride a bus. But in our area, they can't. But
The
then,
difference is from checking on the Peabody, or not Peabody, the Portland Public has gone for middle schools, they've gone from a mile, which was the way it was for years. And like people in Quail Park were able to get their kids onto the bus because they had the bus come to the Lancaster side of the park and the kids could go down there. The city of Portland Public has gone to 1.5 miles. And that means that middle school students as far away as if you drive it is right around 19th Street, so it's clear down on the other side of the real big problem is the Taylor's Ferry curves where kids, you know, there are kids.
We walk it all the time.
Huh?
We walk it all the time.
Well, I know that, but it's
I was just curious, how much effort are we putting into what thing?
Hard to say because we don't know.
We don't
so
know.
it can also be used, it's a route to Maricara Park for those who want to go to the park.
And we've got a lot of steps to go through, but the first one is to get the footage figured out, and we can work on that one step at a time is the kind of thing, and do it right instead of trying to come up with an idea. What I will say is that, and it's an entirely different situation, I just signed a grant for the Bridal Mound neighborhood. They got a grant through, I think, the Sweden Small Grants to put in a gravel, what was initially proposed as a boardwalk on some soft ground, which is one of the issues we have here. And they got a grant from the neighborhood small grants for about $3,500 to put in a pathway that met the city of Portland standards for a boardwalk doesn't. City of Portland had, but the city of Portland for soft ground has a different standard. And they figured that the cost of putting that in with help from Southwest Trails is about $3,500. So, you know, I don't know how much distance we're gonna have that issue on, but that's a grant that came from another neighborhood for a trail, to upgrade a trail in the bridle mountain. So, I mean, they've been working on it for a long time, unless probably.
The hard part about that is if you don't have the trail, people won't make decisions to move there for kids. So it's not a short term, it's even a long term thing. So that's the hard part, is you can quantify how many kids are there now. It might even be harder in the future for parents to make a decision to move there if their kid has to walk to school and there's not a safe route to do it. So.
And this one's way safer, yeah. There's a ton of kids, seems like they've been born in the last 2-3 years in our neighborhood. It's like this whole new wave of kids are coming through again. It's kind of nice. All right, any other questions on this? So the forestry department did approve our permit application, but BDS is asking the questions.
BDS are the ones
We didn't get anything from BES. I didn't see that in her reply. She didn't say anything about BES, so
I was
wondering.
I don't know where their initial question was, do we need an environmental review permit?
So
I hope not.
I was wondering if maybe BDS was speaking for both bureaus.
I think
that's
because that BDS does the initial intake and then they'll send you over to BDS. So.
Okay. So there we are. That's the latest on that, and we'll continue to try. Next step, unless there are any questions, none, is letter of support from Robert Lennox. Rain garden on 19th and Taylor's Ferry. It's done. It looks good. Has everybody here seen that? 19th Taylor's Ferry Road. I gotta pull that up. 19th and Taylor's Ferry Road. Taylor's Ferry Road. ST. Taylor's Ferry Road, Green Street. So we had one person at our last meeting recommend off our meeting. It was after our meeting that we do china plates. We collect china plates and we do mosaics rather than putting paint, because paint would be more harmful to the environment. Of course, we'd use good paint, but it was suggested that we do mosaics and make designs, like fish or something with that on those walls. I'm trying to pull up the picture here, and I'm not finding it. So it's the last month we had it on our website. By the way, before I move off of this page here on the screen, if you go to our website and go to projects, you'll find the latest that we have on the urban trails permit. And if you click on this map here, it will give you another page with pictures that correlate. These numbers on the map correlate to the pictures. So you can go take a look if you have any questions about that. And so now I'm going to go back to the other Markham projects. 19th Rain Garden. Here we go. Oops. Oh well.
There you go.
Yeah, it's done. It looks good. I took a picture of it yesterday, but obviously I failed at putting it in the right spot in the folder. So if anybody has any other ideas or is interested in participating in that project, we still haven't found anyone who's interested in doing it. But
Is the city, or is somebody's soliciting our input, right? Is it?
yes,
They
Lisa
would-
Mozinski from BES is soliciting our input from because it's in our neighborhood, and any group that's interested in it. And then if there is a group of people that are interested in it, they need to contact her with a plan, and she will get it approved or work with them to get it approved or guide them and before it can actually be undertaken. So all we're doing as a neighbor, it's in our neighborhood. We have an interest in not looking at concrete barriers, kind of like what you see at 26th and Taylor's Ferry. And so it's up to us if we want to see it improved, or if there's a school that would like to do a fun school project. I know Kathleen, your daughter goes to St. Clair, so maybe that school would be interested in doing something like that over the summer. So if you know of anybody, and Jeff, your son goes to a different school, you know, so.
My kids go to Capitol Hill.
Okay, good, yeah. So it would be a fun summer project, and I know the Connect programs through Portland Parks, they like to do art programs too, art projects, so maybe that's something they'd be interested in if anybody has any contacts with the Connect program through Parks. And they have multiple schools, I know Hayhurst and so on. Okay, so up next is, if there are any other questions on that, Merricara Park and Ferry Doors, and building a new trail in the Gershner area that's adjacent to the park that looks like you're still in the park. There's no change on that. Kid has sent me an email yesterday, and it's still, she wants to see more trails in there, but I haven't heard anything else, so I have no news for you there. Now we go to our committee reports. Transportation is Jeff Monahan was unable to make it tonight, and he did not send a report. He did send a report to Kim? Okay, so Kim will report on that.
Jeff's report says the one thing, if I can work this evening, the presentation on the I-5 sign replacement, basically just being modernized. The one thing of note is the Southwest in Motion interactive map is online. The public input on active transportation. And that is my report for Jeff.
I would just mention on Southwest in Motion that I've gone to most of the meetings on that and tried to encourage them to include as one of the things where that's to make it better for active transportation, an improvement at the Taylor's Ferry service, you know, like actually get something a physical improvement so that people aren't walking on the mud trail through there, and maybe have better access to that. And so that map that's online, that would be a good place to, if you think that's a worthwhile project, to put in comment. I haven't done it yet, but I am thinking about it. And there's our Great Wall of 19th Street. Just a
Yeah, 19th Street. So if you want to put some.
That's a lot. I mean, yeah, trying to.
Here's what it looks like from above.
They gotta do plantings in it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've already got that, whatever
So
that.
that'll soften all this.
Wall some, yeah.
I mean, once you get the plantings in each space, and you have to see this wall.
Well, yeah, it hits the front wall and the side walls to an extent. And it's better than what is there, unless you were a four-wheel drive and a four-wheeler.
Yeah, there's a big view of it, but time of day kind of worked against us there. But, okay, so anything else on transportation? How did Zahara deal with her problem with the drainage?
It's not a drainage problem, it's really what the problem is, and I haven't had a chance to talk with BES about it. What her problem is that to do this, instead of, they just put down the pavement and they put gravel on both sides of the road, and on her side of the road, they left about a 2.5 foot. They put gravel in, and there's about a 2.5 foot or maybe 2 foot drop down to the level of her yard. And what's already happening is it's a narrow paved street, which it is intentionally, but it means that people are driving on the gravel. You know, traffic is getting thorough on the gravel. When they meet on the street, they come off onto the gravel, and so it's sloughing off.
What street are you talking about?
19th at the corner of Luridale.
Okay.
In front
Marigold.
of the adult care home.
Okay.
And so people are driving off there.
Yeah, we're at 19th and Primrose, and that improvement that they did was
Up
great
front.
for that road, but it's been horrible for our road.
Yeah.
The grade is like,
Yeah, I
so
saw
we bottom
that.
out every time we drive on it.
Yeah, no, it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
One step forward.
1.5 step forward at best. But yeah, I saw that because I drove by Primrose, drove by your house the other day, and I saw it.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's all right.
We're
working with them on it. We're trying to keep the neighbors on it.
Yeah. The hope is over 15 years of doing this, the problem is this, we were able to get the city to put the money in, the city BS and this PBOT to put up the money to do that street. And that's less of a street than they've required in the past for local improvement districts. And in all honesty, it's a test street. You know, they're trying to see what, that 19th is one of the toughest streets in Southwest Portland for dealing with stormwater and dealing with an improvement. And they were willing to do the money to see if they could come up with something that was, it was cheaper. So, but you're absolutely right. There are a couple of huge problems that we've got to address with them. But it is done now. And I don't know why the grader is still sitting. When I was over there, the grader for that site is still sitting in front of Zara's house. So that's got to add to her aggravation. I don't know, maybe they put the grader there so people won't drive there. Anyway.
Okay, so up next is schools committee, Jeff?
Yep. So I did attend my wife went to the previous one, and I did attend the January 18th meeting, the schools committee. And one of the first conversations was about Portland Public Schools coming to agreement with the unions. It looked like they're coming to an agreement at that time. We had a couple of people, so they were happy about that. One of the members is part of the Hillsdale group, and they, I guess, have an outreach committee. And part of what this committee is trying to do is find how can they get more interest, as all committees are always looking at, more interest from the public, from the people of the area. So they're looking at different ways to reach out, get more people to attend. And one of the ideas was bring a buddy, going around. Looking at bringing in speakers to talk to the group. One of the interesting things that came out was Portland Public Schools is looking at doing a full immersion school, potentially for Arabic. That was interesting, and there's potential within the area, particular schools that they may look at. Markham was mentioned as potentially, but this is all potential. I want to emphasize that. It's just conversation. So that was kind of exciting. They did get their grant together, and they submitted for a $900 grant that I mentioned last month, excuse me. Submitted. It was, I think, literally the day before the meeting. And then the other thing is what they're calling asset mapping, trying to reach out to the community to find out what potential assets are out there for bringing into the schools, the different from businesses and like what expertise can be offered. Oh, another one that's a little bit controversial was the potential for changing the committee from a standing committee to a special committee, and that took up about half the meeting.
So we'd have to amend our bylaws again. No?
Well,
They didn't,
no, we didn't decide. It was the discussion.
it was a discussion.
There was a discussion, and it's good to look at it, and that pretty much ended the meeting.
Okay.
That, I mean, a special committee is like watershed, as opposed to one of the standing committees. I mean, that's where they go to. Is right now, watershed is a special committee because it doesn't only require neighborhood membership. The standing committees are required to have just representatives from the neighborhoods. And for both watershed and schools, that's kind of problematic because like schools, we have a lot of interest around the schools and we want to have that. And the same thing with the watershed committee, although right now all we've got is neighborhood representatives. Our hope was that some of the friends of groups, Friends of Triumph Creek, or I guess the Watershed Council, but there's a lot of other creeks in the Southwest that we were hoping that Friends would send representatives from, and then really so.
And I appreciate John mentioning that because it just sparked a memory from that meeting that I think was important in the conversation, which is in making that change to the committee. Yeah, right now there's designated people from different groups, and the concern is you get special interest, a certain thing comes up, so it gets flooded with people with special interests, and it becomes inconsistent. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions more? Anybody? All right. So up next is public safety. Kim.
So these are notes from Phil Ford, who's our representative. So, stall for
Okay. Phil Ford and I yesterday went over to the church. Someone had broke into it. And we use the church for search and rescue practice with the fire bureau. Fire trucks come out there and they help us, and we practice our search and rescue skills with our protective equipment on and all that. And apparently someone broke in and was camping out in there and made a little bit of a mess. And so Phil Ford and I had to go over there, and he had to get a rotohammer, and we had to drill holes in the concrete. Use some sort of really cool things that we pounded in that spread out in the concrete that would make it very difficult for someone to break in there again. They went in through the window well that's in the side of the building, the concrete in the side of the building, broke that. So it's secure again, but the Habitat said that if the building was broke into again, they would demolish it. So we kind of don't want to have that happen yet, but it's been a great exercise for teams throughout Portland. There's 95 neighborhoods in Portland, and we've gotten teams from all over Portland coming to practice their basic and advanced search and rescue skills. Which, Jeff?
So when is it expected to be developed?
They're on a 38 house project right now, piece of property that they put 38 houses on. Ours is only 12. And so they were looking at another year. Yeah, and when they do demolish it, the fire bureau gets to come out and play with it first. And so we'll be able to watch from a distance, but there won't be any net teams involved in that. They're going to do, big boy stuff with breaching the roof and with fire and stuff. But it'll be fun. Eric?
Moving the park. Did you want to take that?
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
My apologies. So Phil reported a couple things of note. That there's now 2 part-time graffiti officers. The response should be a little more quick on our graffiti issues around the city. The last month that I was at a board meeting, it was made known to me that they had discontinued the graffiti program altogether. So
Well,
I
the
guess-
budget is being proposed to, ONI has had the graffiti program and they're trying to get shit as well.
I see. Okay. The security person that bring in Fred Meyer also came to a public safety meeting to discuss recent crime and safety concerns. He said that Fred Meyer takes theft seriously, prosecutes all violators. They have an active shopping cart recovery program, and asked if you see one of their carts in the area, to please call the store and they have a service to pick them up. Jamie Pullen, of the crime prevention officer for the city of Portland, just gave a report on the public safety action committee meeting that was held in January. She said there's been an increase in the number of car prowls and that she can help with preventative action on the problem. There are flyers available to be put on cars, but a police officer must be present when they're put on the car to make it legal. So the question was, I don't know how effective that would be as we're short-staffed police officers. And then there are some upcoming events and meetings. There's a net training at Fire Station 18 this Saturday from 10 a.m. till noon. Southwest Neighborhood Inc.'s Emergency Preparedness Fair is scheduled for March 4th from noon until 4. If you have any questions, let's go forward.
Okay. Here's the window well that Phil repaired on the church. Okay, up next is Parks and Community Centers. Kid is not here tonight, so we don't have a report unless, John, you know of something from Sweeney level.
I don't.
Equity and Inclusion, Pat is working tonight, so we don't have a report on that. Although, Jeff, thank you for that announcement about learning an Arabic language. Yeah, that was. And there's another, John, it just came through in the email, I think yesterday, something about if Equity Inclusion was doing some sort of program where for free you can attend a workshop to, how do I word that?
Yeah, I don't know if I still have that on my phone. And I think there was one workshop that was held last Saturday. And the one that was held last Saturday was held over at the graduate school at Lewis and Clark. And it came out from Glenn Bridger. And I'll see if I still got that.
It sounded like sensitivity training.
Yeah, that's more or less right.
Or politically correct, or I don't know what the right word. Sensitivity training towards.
It's just, yeah, I think it's more about recognizing and dealing effectively with issues of harassment, maybe.
And of different people in different cultures.
Yeah. Anyway, there was an arrangement made, and there were several. There's several opportunities for. Okay, yeah. There it is. Just a second. Series, free training series. Portland United Against Hate. The first workshop, free training series, Portland United Against Hate. The first workshop was the 10th at Lewis and Clark Graduate School, which is beyond the main campus. The Center for Community Engagement will be offering Portland United Against Hate, a series of 15 workshops offered between February and June 2018, free and open to the public. These workshops provide attendees with the information, skills, and resources necessary to support their actions in resistance to hate and bias. And that pretty much is, and the next one is in, I guess the only one between now and our next meeting is one Friday, March 8th, again at the recognizing and responding to hate bias counselors as a point of contact and agents of change. It's again, at the Graduate School of Education and Counseling at Lewis and Clark, which is the graduate school is beyond the main campus up there at Lewis and Clark.
Okay.
So that one, yeah. That's
Is it on the Sweeney website?
I don't know if this has been put up. I'll ask that it get that. The whole list.
All right. So next is Land Use and Watershed Committee.
I didn't go to the Land Use Committee meeting.
I did.
And obviously, one of the big issues was that one. The other thing that I should mention is that there was this appeal. They approved, the Sweeney board approved 2 motions from neighborhoods. South Burlingame came in with one, and then there was one from West Portland Park, because there's an unimproved piece of property in West Portland Park. It's basically behind the school and about 3 streets in from Capitol Highway. There's a fairly large unimproved piece of property that was unimproved primarily because it was mapped as EC and maybe EP in the 1990s, and the owner of that property has gone in and submitted an application to get the, I guess it's all EC, which means it's developable, but with restrictions like Rob was talking about for South Burlingame, and he's asking the city to take the EC designation off of about half the property. Essentially it's a half a block up there in that neighborhood, this way from Capitol Highway, and the city staff approved it because they looked at it and decided that it might have been mapped in error, because while there were trees on a significant portion of it, the other portion of it was basically pasture. And so the West Portland Park is appealing that, and it'll be taken to the hearings officer the end of this month. I think I was told yesterday that it runs on the 22nd or something like that. And it's a mapping issue only. It's not, there's no development attached to it at this point. It's just a mapping issue.
It allows them possibly to develop without being into the EC zone.
Right. Where they have more constraints. Part of the lot, about half.
So in the 90s, when they mapped these areas, they did it mostly from aerial photography and some from ground. And there's provisions in there to challenge the designation of where that line is on the ground. Yeah. So that's what they're exercising, is the right to staff review it. So they're looking at soil vegetation, those type of criteria to decide where the environmental conservation line should be.
Okay.
And watershed. You want me to? Watershed was mostly this month about the 2 staff people from BES came and talked about the Capitol Highway project and how they're planning to deal with stormwater in that. The takeaway for our neighborhood is the fact that our neighborhood is going to be affected by that project, because the far southwest end of that project is around the buildings that are just across the street from the TriMet area, the TriMet transfer station or transit station.
Barber Transit Station?
Yeah, the Barber Transit Station, and that water from there and up the hill up onto Capitol Highway actually comes down and comes under the freeway and comes into Falling Creek. So the good news for us is there's not going to be any change. They're not doing anything to change the volume that comes off, but BES has asked that that part of the project put in stormwater filters in vaults on those already existing streets. So if that stays in as part of the project, theoretically we're going to be getting cleaner water coming off the highway and going into Falling Creek than came before, because right now it's not filtered at all. And that's one of the ways they're dealing with stormwater quality issues is by putting filters in vaults in the street, and that's really all they could do there. Farther up Capitol Highway, there's a long discussion going on about whether or not they're going to put in Green Street stormwater. And the transportation committee was not in favor of it. Some of the neighbors are not in favor of it, and the Sweeney has written them a letter saying that they favored off-site, off-corridor is the word they're using, stormwater detention facilities, but that doesn't affect Markham.
So if I could bring up the land use committee meeting, we went around the table and everybody talked about what's happening in the neighborhoods. And as the demand or the price of housing goes up, we're going to get more and more impacts onto environmental conservation zones. It's happening everywhere. So you guys should just be aware that many of your areas that are now woods that have conservation zones over it, those are going to be challenged over the future. So it's good to pay attention to what the conservation laws are and what your rights are, because as the pressure goes up for housing, prices are going to go up, and you're going to find those affordable areas that impact what they didn't 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So and that's kind of our identity in the Southwest, is some of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
we don't have as many. Most of the other neighborhoods have parcels that haven't been developed, but in a lot of ways, most of our wooded areas were developed in the 70s, early 80s, and into the 90s. The one thing that prompted me, and I'd written it down here, I think I've told you that the residential infill project is going on, and the area of Markham that's affected by that is primarily the area west of 26th and north of Taylor's Ferry. That is the only area in Markham that has been designated for higher density development, in the sense that duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes would basically be allowed in there. And I think that's kind of crazy, because the residential infill project is doing that area is the same kind of thing that led to us having multifamily housing 50 feet above Barber Boulevard over in West Portland behind the library, clear down at the end, an unimproved street. They say we're gonna put it within a quarter mile of Barber Boulevard, and this area over north of Taylor's Ferry, which is totally, you can't access it from but one direction, Taylor's Ferry, and it's not got any grid in it, but yet it's within a quarter mile of Barber Boulevard. So therefore, they've said that's the area where the residential infill is going to go in. we're gonna have to make the case this spring in front of the planning commission, and then probably later city council. The planning commission is started its process of hearing about residential info. They had a hearing, they didn't have a hearing today, they had a briefing today. The hearings will be in May on that subject, and they're gonna get briefings this month, next month, and in April on the project before they have their hearings, 2 of them in May. So we need to be following that and responding to that.
Is that split between the freeway and
Yes.
West
West
of
of 26.
west of 26.
So the idea is to have walkable neighborhoods. So it's happening South Burlingame too. You got I-5 that separates you from all the transit, the rapid transit, that allows you to have this density. There's no real connection between the criteria, which is the rapid transit, and where the housing is. So
Well, the only connection there is 26th Valley, as we've talked about.
Yeah,
prior
and
months.
that overpass.
And the footbridge.
yeah, and basically I-5 becomes an urban canyon. There's no way to cross it,
Yeah,
and it shouldn't be allowed as a.
and the idea that Barber is being made, I mean, you're gonna put, they did the same thing over in West Portland Park, north of Huber. They said, oh, well, north of Huber is, at least they've got the transit bridge to get over to, but those streets and areas in there are not fully developed to the point where you're gonna be able to put, I mean, low density, but still multifamily type housing. Lower density multifamily.
And there's only one street.
Yeah. It's weird.
Okay, so next is 20, we okay? 20 is plenty. PBOT has a program right now, and they have yard signs that you can get called 20 is plenty, and it comes right before they start a program starting April 1st. Speed limits in the neighborhoods will be dropped from 25 to 20. And they also have a sign that shows the difference in speed, and 5 miles an hour drop in speed, how many more lives or what the percentage chance you have of dying or being seriously injured in just that 5 mile an hour difference. So they're trying to promote that and get the word out that as of April 1st, isn't that the day you're supposed to get your tires off?
Studded tires.
Okay, take your studded tires off, slow down. That's the day, it's the landmark
The
day.
signs will not all be up at that.
Yeah, and they're trying to get them up in the city, but yeah, I thought that was pretty aggressive planning.
Yeah.
What?
He's gonna finish taking it outside.
Okay.
Place to go.
All right, so Kim, it's okay, it can be done in the morning. Next up is the application that was denied by the city of Portland for tree removal at 1821 Southwest Primrose. Howie is here tonight to talk about that and have a picture of your tree, Howie, that I can put up for you. The city sent a letter of denial, and Howie has appealed it. We can come back to the letter if we need to, but here's the tree. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. And I've got a couple of views of it. Visited with your mother-in-law, very nice mother-in-law, you're a lucky guy. Sure. And wife too, but so there's the tree. And apparently these wires right here mean the power company has to come out and remove the lower branches. But the reason it's so sparse in the bottom, the mother-in-law told me, was because branches keep falling off of it. So I don't know what the deal is, but go ahead and.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, we live at 1821 Southwest Primrose, and we have this tree, and we moved in, let's see, last May, and it's fine, and then we just noticed in around the fall, when the weather kind of changed and started getting a little bit windier, the branches were falling, and our kids play. We have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. My friends over, and we play around there. And it wasn't small branches; it was, some of them were as big as my arm falling off. So we had someone come out and look at it, and they couldn't figure out what the deal was. The branches that fall, not all of them look dead. So it's true. I don't understand why it's happening, and I can't predict which ones are going to fall. I mean, maybe after this winter, maybe they've all fallen, they're going to fall. I don't know, but I don't want to risk it with my kids playing on there. It's 25-inch diameter, so it's above the level that we could have gotten, I guess,
Exemption?
Yeah, it was something. It was something around 21 inches, I think, was the deal. Yeah, so around December, I was just like, all right, let me just see how this works. I've never had to do this before, but I sent the permit in and got word that it had been denied. So I was just like, all right, I'll see if I can appeal it. So the hearing is on Thursday. I'm just going to go in. I'm not optimistic, but it's kind of frustrating. Because it's, my mother-in-law lives with us. We thought about at some point, like, try to build something in that spot as well, like an ADU, but I don't know what we're going to do about it. Because, yeah. I have a feeling I know what he's saying. Yeah.
I've had one mother-in-law that I would have.
I mean,
one that would have probably chopped it.
I have a lucky man, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm a lucky man, I'll say it on the record. To be living with my mother-in-law, I wouldn't necessarily want to live with my own mother, but my mother-in-law is an awesome woman. She does so much for our family, and allows my wife and I to have great jobs, and it's wonderful to have a grandmother with the kids, so.
When they looked at it, did they give it a species? I mean, I know it's a pine.
It's a pine.
It's ponderosa. It's a ponderosa.
I think so.
Wow. It's big, but
I could look. I have the thing in mind.
Yeah.
We need to know.
It's.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be optimistic because, I mean, the way they put it into the code, that was the kind of tree that
they're trying to.
Yeah. I mean.
Yes.
I would stay to the health of the tree one way or another. They're not going to have a lot of empathy about wanting to build something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been through it.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Were you successful with the appeal?
Oh, he has the appeals pending.
No, talking.
Oh, yours.
Not in the appeal, but just in the approach.
Because I was told.
Yeah, that type of tree is very.
The west side, it's impossible.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I'm getting. But
we're rich people. We can.
Our neighbors were able to get a substantial tree. The Demons. They were able to, at first they were kind of looked at, but then they started looking at the root system and other potential issues, and that's how.
So it's really got to be bad health or a nuisance tree or some reason.
Bringing it down to develop, they're not real.
They're not excited. I mean, and that's not even the best way we want to take it down. But yeah.
But they do like that infill.
Well, they do.
Could you build around it?
Well, yeah, they kind of want you to build it.
Treehouse?
Yeah, right.
Mom put her in a
Right.
treehouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
one thing they did say is if I could bring a resolution from the neighborhood association, they would care, because that might be helpful. But
Did they define what that meant exactly?
We can't vote.
Can we vote if we have him?
Well, I mean, I guess a quorum is.
Please.
Yeah, he's been here, so we can vote. I've got something that looks like that kind of pine in my yard, and I wish it was half as big as that one, because it has never been very successful. And some of them grow, but some of the other ones in my neighborhood grow, but they are a big, I mean, they'll shed the lower branches. I don't think it's ponderosa. I think it's.
Hello?
I'm afraid it's gonna, some of the branches are gonna
How
fall
close
out.
are you to being back?
And
How far away are you?
I mean, it's, the power line is on that side of the street, and doesn't
Because
the,
we need to do a vote.
doesn't the,
We need to vote.
well, you can vote that. Doesn't the power company come along and trim some of those branches?
Not, I've been there almost a year and no one has come by.
They don't come every year.
Huh?
They don't come every year.
No, they don't come every year. It's,
I might need to do it too. I'll put you on the phone.
yeah, that would work. But we gotta get a motion.
So someone needs to make a motion if you want to have this go through. And then we can have a vote. I have Kim on the phone so he can listen to the motion and cast his vote. He'll be back, but it's just he had to run an errand real quick. So does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move.
Eric moves to write a letter in support of the removal of your tree at 1821 Southwest Primrose Street. Are you hearing this, Kim?
Yes.
And is there a second? John Gibbons seconds it. And Eric is doing a good job of taking the minutes. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so we'll call for a vote. Kim, since you're on the phone, you'll have to yell aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Howie says thank you. All those opposed say no. And those abstaining? Michael Bruder abstains, so the motion carries. And we will write your letter. John, do you want to write that letter?
No.
All right, I'll write the letter.
I'll bring non-weed grams.
I've been writing letters for Sweeney for the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
These two, I wrote both those.
So you'll get your letter. I know that we're done with you now, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so I have the letter from the Forest Department here. I have to get it back up. It is, oh, not that one. This one. Where'd it go? There it is. So it says here in this letter, whoops, that we are supposed to respond to his appeal if we want to say or do something about it by 3:30 tomorrow.
This is, we can send it by,
You can email it.
Send it by email. So
Yeah,
just
email
say-
right there.
Say we discussed it and voted in favor of his
Supporting.
request to remove, and
Okay.
Oh, man, that would be
that will
amazing.
be about as much as we can.
Yeah,
do.
that would be my Hail Mary.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Your
I
sweet
don't give you
mother-in-law
any
deserves it.
guarantees.
She does, doesn't she?
Because
Yeah. Okay. So that's it. Then we're
Okay.
done.
Thank you so much.
And any announcements anyone has? Michael Ruder is here tonight in addition to being here for the meeting. Do you have anything that you'd like to add or say? He's here for our net team, since our net team is not meeting tomorrow for Valentine's Day. I mean, we love each other, but so we're going to do knots at the fire station on Saturday with the fire crew. And so Michael, who's a wilderness person and a co-team lead with our net team, is going to show us how to do some knots. If you'd like to stay after the meeting is adjourned and join us, you're certainly welcome to. Or if you'd like to join us at the fire station and see what we do and how fun it is to hang out with firemen and learn new things, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. So, because we're not doing a search and rescue exercise that requires protective equipment and all that, so you'll be okay as our guests. So, is there anything else anyone would like to bring up other than these announcements at the bottom of the agenda? Our Saturday training with the fire station, March 13th is our next monthly meeting. March 14th is the NET meeting. And also coincides with another training.
Did you need to talk about movies in the park now?
Oh, yes. We have an offer from, thank you, Eric. We have an offer from Portland Parks for a movie in the park on August 23rd. That is a Thursday. We requested Saturday or Friday night because, you know, families and children want, you know, got to go to bed and all that, and people got to go to work. And they gave us a Thursday night. So are we interested in doing that? Are there any comments with regard to that?
What's the date?
August 23rd.
It's gonna be night, right? It's a night.
It starts, the movie starts at dusk. So it's about 8:30. And so, yeah, it's a work night. And so, you know, we've done it on work nights. We are not very well attended. We get about 1,000 people. We've gotten way more than that on a weekend night. So I wanted to know it's going to be $1,000. I had to submit the application because we were up against a deadline. But I did submit the application, and we had to select a couple of movies also in the application, which we did. Eric, do you remember what they are? I thought I had it sitting right here, but I don't see it.
Guardians of the Galaxy was one of them.
Guardian of the Galaxy 2. If you've seen one, it's kind of a cute movie for kids. And because we can't get the movies that are for little tiny kids because they have to go to bed earlier, so we have to kind of target the little bit older kids that can stay up till 10 o'clock. So we requested that, as well as just some standard music, what was like jazz or, you know, something upbeat. And then a ice cream truck and like a hamburger hot dog truck. Try to keep it simple. We can invite the Somalians again, the community of the Somalians that came last time. They're the largest demographic of another culture near us. And then any other suggestions that you may have. Well, you know, we'll have the fire department and so on.
The thing, I saw something come across my desk today because we've got to be dealing with this. Is Portland Parks asking for a bigger share of the money from us than before?
When we first did it, this will be our fourth one.
Yeah.
It was $750.
Yeah.
Now it's $1,000.
And it's just money we've got to give them up front.
We've got to fundraise it and give it to them, and they do want it up front, as opposed to before we could pay it after. Whereas I think we're supposed to pay it by June something, which we do have the money in our treasury. Should have our treasurer for that, but you know, we do have the ability to raise some funds. I don't know how many funds, but you know, we have that ability. It's just whether or not this neighborhood would like to go and do something like that again, if you're interested in doing that. And we also have the neighborhood night out coming up. That will be the first week of August, I think it is. National Night Out, and where we have over at Marigold Hydro Park. So,
Donna, how soon do we need to respond back in regards to the movie in the park? Is that something that has to be done fairly soon if we want to secure that date, or?
Yes, we need to try and decide tonight, if not very quickly, because we had to submit by a deadline, which we met, and then they had a week to offer back, which was days ago. I think like last Friday they gave us the offer back, and so they need to put the offer out to another neighborhood if we don't want to go forward with one more movie.
As this is going to be on a weeknight, and we potentially have a much lower turnout, I mean, that's the big thing against us here with this. But I move that we go ahead and have a vote.
Okay. Any other comments? No? Jeff?
Question. So it's definitive if we do it, it is on the Thursday night. There's no negotiating now.
Well, we can counter and ask, but the question is though, do we want to do it? If we do want to do it, if we can get it on a weekend, you know, we can certainly go forward with that, but we need to decide because I've got to commit us to that $1,000, and you know, I don't know if that's what you want to do. So if you want to do it on a weekend night, I can go back to them and say, we're interested in doing it, but you have to move it to a weekend night or we're not interested. If that's
Did
how.
we, I guess the other side of it is, how was, I mean, we raised money to do it. Do we make any, does the neighborhood make any money?
We made money, just a few hundred, not much. It's mostly just to serve our community. Family night, serve the community.
Yeah.
And so what we do is the money that we have, the $1,400 right now that we have from our bottles and our Fred Meyer rewards and stuff, you know, it's just a minor amount of money. And, you know, we're not opposed to doing more fundraising efforts. It's just, you know, if we have a need, then we'll go find the money. If we don't have a need, then we won't. So Eric asked for a vote. How many, can I have a show of hands? I have to get Kim in here again if we're going to have that vote. We don't have a quorum without Kim.
No.
What?
The quorum doesn't go, it's weird. I don't think the quorum goes away if somebody leaves, because his being here created quorum. It's a weird rule. Robert's rules doesn't want people, I mean, Kim left for a reason. He was excused, which is fine. But what happens sometimes is people try to screw up the quorum by leaving. And my understanding is once a quorum is established, it's established. So
okay.
The group can vote whether, you don't need to get him on the phone, is what I'm saying. So.
Okay. So can I have for all those in favor of the motion that you made, Eric, was
to go ahead, I mean, and see if the neighborhood wants to go ahead with the movie in the park, right?
With no qualifications.
With no qualifications.
Just with the offer that we have on Thursday.
Or do we want to go ahead and vote to say that we feel that it needs to be on a weekend or?
Okay, yeah. Do you want yes or no on the movie?
I get to vote.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
We want to know what you have to say at least. Because you are a dad.
I would be in favor of the movie not on a weeknight.
Okay.
Good.
So
maybe make that.
So you're amending your motion. The motion will be to offer to parks to have the movie on a weekend. Otherwise, we do not want it.
That's, I think.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. To ask parks to change.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding.
Change the motion to read, offer to parks that we have the movie on a weekend night, or we do not want to have a movie this year. So we're counter offering back to have the movie on a weekend night, or we're not going to hold a movie. We don't want it on Thursday night. So all those with show of hands. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, so it's anonymous. Okay, so we need your bottles and cans, and we need your Fred Meyer rewards, and okay, thank you very much. And
I'll make a motion.
Sad your mom. All right,
make
so
a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, I thought we had,
what?
I didn't get a chance to speak.
Okay, what would you like?
I'd like to go back to unfinished business because I never saw any minutes about us succeeding in consuming. Where did we ever go with that? Did it drop? Did it?
Yeah.
We just
We had
wanted.
a discussion and then there was no other.
Well, we did talk about that, and not in this meeting, but from what I understand, you guys can help me on this. We just wanted Sweeney to come in and explain to us the benefits of continuing in the coalition, or as well as Oni coming in and explaining to us what it would be like if we weren't continued in the coalition and we were independent, like some other neighborhoods were in the city. And Sweeney and Oni both explained it to us, and as far as I know, no one else has asked anything else about that topic. And so I think from what I understand is everybody is happy going along the way we are. Am I incorrect on that, John?
No, that you're not at all incorrect, and I guess just talk to South Burlingame. I mean, and we've got a big one coming up in terms of the Multnomah. The ability to raise funds inside the umbrella of Sweeney for these kind of appeals is really massive for our neighborhoods, and we've got to be real careful with that, because I mean, it amounts to a lot of paperwork that, I mean, I don't think any neighborhood could cover, because, you know, Sweeney's staff and our bookkeeper, who's great, is what keeps that going. So, I mean, we just had, and it was good to have the discussion. I mean,
Well, I was,
and insurance too.
as I
Yeah.
quote, you said, quote, "You did not feel supported as the president." And so we had the discussion and it just kind of.
I think it just ended.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to understand, is did it just end with or not?
It was never brought to an actual vote. It was
Right, you're right, I've been looking for it in the minutes follow-up.
No, we've
that
just-
long lengthy
We
meeting
just,
that we had.
there was a question asked from the floor, and they asked that we find out what the benefits were of continuing in the coalition or not. And so I brought them in, Oni and Sweeney, to answer those questions. And then after that was done, the question wasn't asked again. So I think the persons that were asking the questions were satisfied with the answers, and we had some conversations with Sweeney and Oni, and things were worked out, and we're moving forward. Everything's fine.
Just call it up, and it just didn't seem.
So we're trying to, you know, because if it's not just pulling out because of whatever is going on at the moment, and we have to also look forward to whoever is going to be in these positions in the future, and will they be able to do the things that we do on their own, or are they going to need the support? And Sylvia Bogart is an incredible woman and full of knowledge. Whenever I have problems or questions, you know, am I doing this right, or am I going to get in trouble doing this or something like that, she's right there advising me, as well as the other staff in that office
Just
do
out of
support
perspective,
services.
Not to interrupt. Just last week, whenever we were trying to find out what the findings were going to be in the office, we weren't getting a response back from the attorney. And Sylvia was able to put me in touch with Amanda Fritz's general staff to get this insight.
No, I was just trying to get.
No, I'm just saying that's one of the advantages, I
Consensus
think.
from our group.
I think that's one of the advantages, is to have those connections, those, you know.
No, I was totally against us pulling out, so.
There was reasons for the question, and there were some things that need to be worked out, and we moved on. And what's in the best interest of our neighborhood association is to keep it where there's a support group over there in that office that supports whoever else comes into these positions, because they're going to need it. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background, and there's a lot of knowledge in that office. And okay.
Semi-retire on the right foot.
Well, there was reasons, but okay. All right. So anything else? Anybody else have any questions? All right, Michael, you're on. So motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
All right. So you got to write down Jeff Murray seconded it.
Yep.
The only thing he said.
You're not done being a secretary yet. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye. He says aye.
Aye.
Dr. Luckman, before we finish this, do you have a blood drive coming out?
Excuse me?
Do you have a blood drive?
Yeah, just 18th, Sunday blood drive.
Sunday, this Sunday?
This Sunday,
oh, good.
Blood drive, okay,
This
so,
Sunday.
good, I'm glad and those opposed, anybody, okay? Motion passed and we're good to go. So if you want to learn about how to tie knots, hang around with Michael.
Name, signature, and email, just in case.
Certainly, thank you very much for coming. It's, Ariel.
Yeah, my letters are kind of turned into one.
What's that? But I can have all my stuff.
Yeah, I remember
Kind of boring if you don't know what's going on.
Right, yeah.
And it's pretty quiet right now because there's not a lot going on.
You know what happens when they all show up?
Wow.
And you can get some grumpy ones in here.
Yeah, I know.
Very, very, very grumpy. And that was very team tonight. Yeah, it's like, deep breath today. Okay, what do you want, contact information?
Yeah, email would be fine, or
A number of times with the iron.
President, what are you studying?
Urban and public affairs and minor.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Oh, good. I went to Washington.
It's nice to have it right
For
there.
business, and then went to Fonzie Law School, but I taught it in Spain.
Well, that's the trouble. I'm not.
I know, it's real hard to get out when you have studies and everything.
Yeah.
do all that field work.
but it's good. It's really gives me a bigger perspective on things. I like it back just because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, normally it's online, but, they have a.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean,
But you never.
no, I
get it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
where important.
So this is some of them already. I think
Well, yeah, some of
So
them.
that's the other thing about it. People are moving in.
Oh, there's not enough.
Well, so-
Yeah.
Go to California tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
I
when
mean,
you
it's.
move in there, you know that it's. you're not gonna
You know, we go over, to, and it's weird because, you know, my son lives over on the east side. We try to get together for dinner on Saturday nights. And because he doesn't drive. Well, yeah, I guess.
Well, eventually. So are you gonna learn how to do knots, Jeff? You gonna learn how to do some knots?
Not at this moment.
You gonna join us on Saturday morning?
I don't have any idea how good I am right now. I'd love to, but I'm actually gonna be in Canada with my son.
Oh, cool, with Luke?
Yeah, well, he's still willing to, we're gonna go to a concert.
Oh, fun. You are so lucky.
Oh, I am.
Good kid, good wife.
Yeah.
All right, so do we need rope? I brought
Well,
rope.
I have my bag with everything. I'm just kind of wondering, do we really, is what I was trying to do is get more of the members here.
Eric
Because
gonna do it?
I think Fahiso is a little frustrated with the last group that went in.
Why, because they were thin?
No, because they didn't really have any basic knowledge.
Where'd Eric go?
So I think he was kind of hoping that the two were gonna come in.
So you attended that last one?
No, I just got it from that last team lead meeting. Oh, that's password.
Yeah, but Lynn, Devitt, he put Fort Hair, I think that he wasn't speed. And you're Kobe, so I was, here, oh, just this, Bill says Ventura, because I report to Ventura. You're Kobe.
Right.
So you don't report to Fort Hair.
Well, but does that really matter?
No, you just need to correct that. But see how mine is?
Yeah.
So we just want the person to report.
And so Kim's and Eric's will be changed to, your name, Ritter Eric.
Well, I guess.
Yeah. We are, I think Phil is, like, we're coming to the same thing. So you realize, this is Eric's, Kim's.
Eric's coming back, right?
I think so. Did you?
Great job, thank you.
Did you happen to see, so on my email, I had,
How about if I videotape it?
well, I don't,